It is a beautiful Saturday here at Lone Star Park at Grand Prairie. 77 degrees. We're fast and firm on the racetracks. Beautiful spring weather. With Rick Lee, I'm Jim Byers. Rick, it's kind of that week in between. Well, it is the week in between the Derby and the Preakness. But it's a good chance to see some good local racing here. You know, the big races are nice and the big weekends are nice, but this will be a really beautiful weekend to be here. Great weather for Mother's Day tomorrow as well. And it's going to be fun to see how we do on this 9-race card.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Mother's Day for those that forget. Not that I've ever forgot, but I'm just saying that's a good reminder. And, you know, the track this morning for workouts was pretty fast. It was a little faster surface than it typically is. And that doesn't mean it's going to carry over to today. But the turf course should be in tremendous shape. It's been great all year. I mean, I've rarely seen it so green as I've seen it this year from day one. So, and we've been washed off a few times, so the course should be in great shape.
Yeah, it seemed to play very well yesterday. We've got races on the turf today. We're here to offer our thoughts on today's card, give you the scratches and changes and our selections. Last night for me was frustrating from a handicapping standpoint. I like to beat vulnerable favorites. I'm not afraid to throw numbers up there that aren't necessarily congruent with everybody else. But last night I stuck with logical favorites that I thought were not that vulnerable, and they turned out to be vulnerable. That's just the way the game goes. Today I'm going to try to beat some favorites. We'll see how it works out. But exciting way to start the card. 4.5 furlong 2-year-old race, our first 2-year-old race of the year. Scratch one of the 2 fillies that was entered in the race, number 3, Double Barrel Vinny. So that leaves a field of 5. No superfecta on the first race. 4 Colts and Geldings, 1 filly, and Rick is really my guru on 2-year-old races because he can see them in the morning by his role as a clocker. I can't see them in the morning. I'm going strictly blind off paper. You have a different top pick than I do, but I really think it is between the 1 and the 5. Lexi's comeback, drawn toward the outside. I don't know if that matters that much in a 5-horse field, but tell us about what you like about her.
Yeah, I mean, this is more or less just a pedigree pick more than anything else. Highlander, a beautiful training facility in Sulphur Springs, and so they can get them ready, ship them in here, fit. Just got to get eligible to run with it, a gate work, a couple works, and this horse's gate work I thought was pretty good. I didn't feel like they asked him for his all. The sire competitive edge, he's way above average for first-time starting 2-year-old, 17%. That's excellent. Competitive edge himself won the first 3 races of his career, so he was very precocious. And Lexi on the Move won her first 2 races of her career, both at Oaklawn, too. A maiden special weight, a one other than. So I think the pedigree is there as well. And so I decided to go this direction. To be honest with you, horses like Flash Out, Caldwell's really good. It seems like he's streaky, too. If this one wins, you got to watch his 2-year-olds moving forward. And I know you're going to mention the one, so I'm not going to mention much about that one either. And Karen Jacks is having a really good meeting, as always. And Ray Ashford's horse, I saw him breeze that 50 2/5. Again, it was a solid work, nothing special, but the workout was 7 days ago, and you always got to be mindful. They're not going to extend a horse 7 days before a race. They're going to take it a little bit easier. So sometimes it's better with a 2-year-old to look to see what the works look like previous. And you can see even he's had a 23, a 53, a 6, a 23. So I wouldn't be shocked. If money shows on the Ashford horse, you better respect that one as well.
Despite the fact that it's kind of taboo to pick a rail horse in a first-time starting 2-year-old race and all the issues that can bring. And this is a filly against boys, which for first-time starting young 2-year-olds, I don't mind so much. I mean, let's face it, even in human beings, you go young enough and there isn't as much difference between the genders athletically. Obviously, once they get fully mature, it can be a different situation. And, unless you have a Goldakova or some of these mares that were just unbelievable, that could beat anybody. Generally, unless you have a future stakes filly on your hands, I would lean away from Real Good Game. But Here's my pedigree note about her. There's no question. Lexi on the Move, who was a Diodoro, is the dam of Lexi's comeback. I noted that as well in my PPs, that she won her first 2 starts. I love to see that. I do think that precociousness can run in families. Real good game. I picked her. Game winner, the sire, champion 2-year-old colt, just 7 years ago in 2018, won the Del Mar Fraternity, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He won his first 3 or 4 races as well.
He did.
And game winner is, taking nothing against any other stallion, but he's in the big leagues of stallioning. He stands up for Sales, Kentucky at Lane's End for $20,000.
Yep.
The dam Sarcastic didn't race, but she was a $275,000 yearling, so she had to look decent. She has a half brother who was a $500,000 yearling. He didn't race either. She had another half brother, a horse named Half Hours, who is a sire. In fact, he's sired a horse that's been running around here for a while. Half Hours was a Grade 2 winner. So even though Sarcastic didn't run, I do believe this filly comes from a good family, comes from a trainer that can connect first time out.
Yep.
Some of her works at Sunland were pretty good. Of course, they all work a hole in the wind at Sunland. It must be the light air. It seems like it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just Capalucci and Fincher. We see them coming from Sunland, and they work fast. I'm going to give her a shot. I think she might be speedy. One last note about her, and it has nothing to do with whether they're going to run or how they're going to run today, but the owner, breeders of these horses, of this filly, King and Fincher, bought the dam Sarcastic in full to game winner. In other words, with real good game on the way last fall for $50K.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot about the pedigree. You didn't mention that Sarcastics has already produced 3 $100,000 or bigger earners. She's had one that's earned
nice.
over $100,000 and 2 that's earned over $200,000. So Sarcastic's actually been a very good producer as well. So this should be a good race for a field of 5, I would think. Yeah, we're both kind of going on the pedigree in this one.
Race 2. $7,500 maiden claiming fillies, 3/4 of a mile. Back on opening night, I picked Glitters Andy in the second race of the meet, and she ran a nice second. But I'm sticking with her again today. When she comes back, I'm going to stick with her. She ran a decent enough second, and, there's not a ton to beat in here, so what the heck.
Yeah, I went back, too. I mean, she was narrowly beaten at Houston, 2 starts back at this level for Bob Young, then comes back, like you said, raced a little bit wide, didn't break super sharp. Finishes second again, was claimed by Mark Hibden. I noticed Mark's win percentage is really good in 2025, so I just wanted to see, where he's been. I guess Fauner Park is,
he typically does go up there.
Yeah,
he's been active claiming
very
horses,
good year.
too.
Yeah.
He's gone head first into the business this year.
Yeah, and he claimed this one for himself. So, just off form, I mean, this is a very logical horse to pick. I think off consecutive second-place finishes. Joaquin Garza, the 7, I mean, he's 3 for 3.
Three different horses.
Yeah,
he started 3 horses starting April 27th. He's won with all of them, including Paintbrush, who was a very good pick by you last night, who ran very professionally and beat one of my bad favorites.
Yeah, and Rout's got the best figure. October 24th, the 4th at Laurel, finishing second and lost a clear lead in that race at 7/8. This is 6 furlongs. A week ago when I did the line for this horse, at that point he was 1 for 1. Now he's 3 for 3. Yeah. He may take more money than that. He had a really good trainer, Brittany Russell, previous to that, but as of right now, Joaquin's doing a heck of a job.
Hot Route burned a lot of money at Laurel. I mean, 2 starts as a favorite, 6-5 and 13-10, and ran that one good second, ran a poor fourth. But then when they run a bad race and then go to the shelf, obviously that something went amiss.
Right.
So it's hard to hold that really against them. But I went with Hot Route second as well. Princess Matoli I picked against opening night in the Glitters Andy race, and even though the Asmussen barn is starting to gradually heat up and will continue to do so, I got to see more out of her. I think she's going to be overbet. The other Asmussen is intriguing to me only because she breathed the air in Hot Springs, and as we've said before, sometimes moving here from there helps them. Coventina, I didn't use her in the picks, mind you, but I think she could be interesting. All older horses in today's third race. 5/8 on the turf. Scratch number 5 by scratch the 6 Vietnam Victory, scratch the 10 Classic Moment. So we've got a 5-ace turf sprint. They can be in for $30,000, which a bunch of them are, or you could be a non-winner of 3, or you can be in on an allowance condition of 2 other than that.
Yeah, I think the one that beats Executive Power in here, I think we both picked him.
Yeah.
Has some really nice sprint turf victories, over the winter. One at Indiana, one at Houston in January. Last time out at this similar condition or same condition going 2 turns, ran a really good race, finishing second. It's good that Carly's Dream came back and ran the same buyer figure she ran in when she won this race. She came back and was defeated, but ran a terrific race.
Well, and Creative Minister, who Broberg claimed with Abel Ramirez Rodriguez, and is the old class horse that was placed in the Derby and the Preakness, ran a super race first time on the turf. Creative Minister came flying, and Carly's Dream ran a nice race to him. So that was, I think he flatters that win on April 18th.
I do too, and one of the also-rans out of this same race, Brother Reed, ran last night.
Yeah.
That was going to be my reference, and he came back to win. One thing I did notice about that race last night, the Brother Reed race, is that the pace was really slow because we had 2 mile and 16 turf races, and the higher quality animals went almost 10 lengths slower in the early calls than the lesser horses.
Yeah.
So it's one of those cases as a buyer, you got to project the winning figure out of that Brother Reed race because the pace was so much slower. You can't give horses that typically run 78 a 58 because the pace was just so slow.
Yeah.
So, again, that's a projected figure for the Brother Reed race last night.
I think there was a solitary leader that I think ran 4th behind the 3 that were very close at the end of that nightcap last night that Rick's talking about. I think there was a solitary leader that was able to slow him down.
Yes.
But, yeah, Executive Power, to me, was a no-doubt pick. It's going to be kind of a short price now, especially with these scratches. Consistent. I don't worry too much about the fact that this horse has been heavily favored in his last 3 and his 3 seconds, but they've been good seconds. They haven't been races where he had, snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. As far as the others, Pray for Peace is a confirmed closer. He's definitely going to be coming at the end. Unbridled Bling, on the other hand, who's my 3rd pick, very fast. And it's a 5-ace race, and I always like to include somebody that's super quick in the picks in a 5-ace turf sprint.
Yeah, that Pray for Peace sprint, his most recent sprint. I mean, look who beat him, 21 and change, who ran a bad race the other day, but he was the favorite, I believe. He's very good, and Jackman's right.
Yeah.
I mean, so he was narrowly defeated, gets an 84 buyer. Since then, he has a dirt sprint, a route. I mean, Pray for Peace, like you said, he's going to be coming from out of it, but his best race puts him right there.
He wasn't beaten that badly, only a length and a quarter by Executive Power last time, and Pray for Peace looks to me like more of a sprint type than a 2-turn type. So then you got Fincher putting American Outlaw in there for a rare turf try. Of course, he spent most of his career in New Mexico where there's nary a turf course to be found. Race 4. Non-winners of 2 claiming $5,000 to tag. This is the only race on the card that has no scratches. Minimal 7 furlong experience here, and sometimes that's a good angle here. 3-year-olds and up. And who do we like in here?
Yeah, sometimes trainer stats kind of blow you away. We had that California guy,
Calvario. Yeah,
with that,
Samuel Calvario.
Yeah, first start for trainer, his stats were just almost hard to believe. And Capalucci, the claim today for Air It Out, the 5-horse, 49% wins right back with claims, and that sample size is large.
Yeah.
39, amazing. This horse did not run a good race the first time here. After running really well at Oaklawn Park. I mean, he wins at Oaklawn by 4 in a maiden race, goes into non-winners of 2 for 20. This is a non-winners of 2 for 5, and finishes second. I mean, he ran a terrific race despite being wide, so you could have actually made a case he should have won that race. Then he ran another big figure at Oaklawn April 6th in a non-2 for 12.5, finishing 4th in the mud. I'm not sure what happened to him here. He got bet down to favoritism, which he should have been based on his Oaklawn form. Did not run well after his sluggish start, but he never breaks real sharp.
No.
Claimed
Steve's
by
barn that
Cappellucci.
opening weekend just didn't fire much.
Yeah.
And he was with Asmussen then, and their barn opening weekend they just did not fire for whatever reason.
Yeah. Vasquez is off to a tremendous start as well.
7 wins in 2 days.
Yeah.
He's almost a pick just based on the fact that he's riding the horse.
Yeah, so air it out, doesn't have a lot of speed. When I was reviewing it, I thought, oh man, Delta front 6-1. This horse might make an easy lead. And then I thought, oh yeah, that's right. This is 7/8. I'm not. You can't convince me he's a 7/8 type of horse, though. He can win. On form, he's sharp. He might make an easy lead in this particular field. Maybe he can carry his speed 7/8 of a mile. He's got a top rider aboard. I just, sometimes I had to jar my memory. I was thinking, boy, if this is 6 furlongs, I shouldn't have made him 6-1. But he may be 6-1 at 7/8.
I'm going to try Structured. That statistic about first off the claim, it makes you want to automatically pick this horse. In all due respect to Cappellucci and the other trainers, and the stat is the stat. I don't know how much he claims off Asmussen. I mean, if you can have that kind of percentage claiming off the Asmussen barn, then you're really talking. But that's not to knock anybody. It's just a fact. But I'm gonna pretend that 49% stat isn't almost literally blinking at me, and take Structured. The dirt form for this guy is kind of so-so, to say the least. He's probably better on the sod, but when you drop him down for 5,000, you're giving up the turf. They don't run that cheap on the turf. This guy's race last time on the grass at Houston, not great. He passed a few, probably tiring horses at 9-2. Didn't gain a lot on the eventual winner, but I have a feeling at 7/8, the turnback distance will help him. And JR can win races with horses whose form is a little muddy looking.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why sometimes I don't get on his bandwagon with horses, is that sometimes he can move horses up with spotting them and drops. I think the drop will help. 7/8 will help. Even though he's kind of so-so on the dirt, maybe you can get a little price on him, so I'm going to try Structure.
Yeah, I mean, the public was willing to take 6-5 and 1-2 on this horse at the same level at Houston, so it would make sense that 5-1, if the line holds, you're actually getting value this time. On the flip side, he's burned a lot of money down at Houston, but maybe, he's at a different venue now, and he's at a lower level. I mean, so I like Structured as well, just because you're getting value, because he had no value at Houston.
True, and he was with Asmussen there, so you got your top pick and my top pick are just recently exited from the Asmussen barn.
That's true.
Normally that would be a major, factor to maybe pick against them.
True.
But in this case, they're going to good barns that win a lot, so it doesn't make a lot of diff. Race number 5. Got 3 horses putting blinkers on in this particular race. A mile, maiden special weights, scratch number 5, Come On Chaos.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good race. I mean, I think these horses have ability, and Scott Young's April 26th at 48-3 gate work, he was finishing really good. A 5-year-old firster, which, generally speaking, I kind of like an older horse as a 3-year-old firsters going long against older. That can be a little dicey.
Yeah.
But this one,
Enemy Fire, first-time starter going a mile, but he's, you say, he's 5.
He's 5. He's got a lot of workouts.
Yeah.
So Scott's doing his best to get him to the races. He's training sharp. He's a nice-looking horse, too. So I wouldn't be surprised. I made him 6-1, picked him second. I took Texian Devil top pick. His last race at Oaklawn was good. The winner, Bye-Bye Miles for Steve Asmussen, just went right to the front. Again, was 4-5, and this horse, tried to keep up. Still finished third. That's a nice race. Then adds blinkers, stretches out today. He's pretty logical off that good Oaklawn form, but I think he's far from a cinch, because I think there's others in here with some ability.
I picked Zorro Doro, the 6 last time. Knock Knock Jokes has proven to be, after it took him a long time to break his maiden, has proven to be a legitimate runner, but I didn't like Zorro Doro's performance, so I'm kind of off his bandwagon. I'm going with Town Hero. I just think there might be a little bit more value here. He and Texian Devil both ran at Oaklawn. They both tested maiden special weights, although Texian Devil's last race was in a super high-priced maiden claimer, so I don't really consider that much different than a maiden special. Town Hero was overmatched, 46-1 and 66-1, whereas your horse was 6-1 twice. Your horse seems to make more sense. I don't think your horse is a cinch,
no.
but I think he's the most logical on another day, but both the 3 and the 4 are stretching out. Your horse has blinkers. Mine's coming off races where he's overmatched. Switches to Vasquez, which, is a positive move right now, the way Ramon's riding. I'm looking for a little value with the 4. I don't know how.
Did you watch the replay of his break? Because
I did not.
Tight steadied. I mean, he was pretty much had a bad shot there. Faust, I picked him to win on the closing day of Oaklawn last week, and Faust was super impressive. Oh, my gosh. And that I only mention that because he was a third-place finisher in Town Hero's race. So, if Town Hero breaks cleanly, I mean, there's no telling. His buyers are already comparable with Texian Devil. And you're going to, like you said, you're going to get a little more value there, too.
So we'll see.
Yeah. I
might be giving you a couple of winners today, but it's not really competition in that regard. It's, who might be the best value and who could make people money. Race 6, 3 and up, 5 ace on the turf. Scratch the 3, Never Over Me. Scratch the 9, who I believe was the morning line favorite. Matoli's Limit. Scratch the 11, Flying Caesar. Now the 12, Roustabout gets in for Asmussen and Elliott. 2 non-winners of 2 claimers for $25,000.
Yeah, I'm going to trust Matt Hebert's having a terrific year and a good meeting here, too. And with Wave After Wave, the 2 unraced since March of 24. So this horse has been on the bench for a while. I love that he won a maiden special weight race very handily at Houston in 24. He's got good early speed. The first 3 races of his career were on dirt, and he couldn't even stand up in it. I mean, that really bad form, but when they moved him to turf, he perked up. He's 5 years old, like I mentioned in the previous race. I like an older horse running in this situation. He's dropping into a non-winners at 2 claimer for the first time. You get a leading rider, and Hebert's good off the bench. I mean, his horses run really well off long layoffs. The workouts look solid for me. I thought this was a race to take a chance on a horse that probably wouldn't go favored, and, I ended up with Wave After Wave.
Yeah, I mean, I've got him second now, too, after the scratches. Certainly merits, if you're going to take a horse coming off a really long layoff, it might as well be a blowout 5 ace turf sprint. If they get a little tired at the end, it's only a 5 ace race.
Right.
Plus, this horse looks like he could be a really nice turf sprinter. I'm going with Or Mine, turf debut. Don't know a lot about Matt Williams, but his numbers are pretty good. I know there was a Matt Williams, used to be a really good power-hitting third baseman in the big leagues. Or Mine has been racing at Fauner and Prairie and Oaklawn, and you won't find any turf in any of those places except maybe in the infield. He's trying turf for the first time. His Tomlinson turf number does not scream out at you, but I think he might like a short sprint. He did break his maiden at Prairie convincingly, gate to wire, and a 5A sprint. That was a year and a half ago. I think his form at Oaklawn was decent enough to put him in this one. I'm going to give him a try. You get the hot rider. He's drawn nicely toward the outside. There's nobody else in here that I really love. I didn't even particularly like Matoli's Limit all that much when he was in the race. You and I both were picking against the morning line favorite when he was in this race. So this could be a race where you look for a little bit of a price.
Yeah, I think the baseball Matt Williams had quite the hairline, didn't he?
He did. He wound up without a hairline, as a matter of fact.
Exactly.
He's still coaching. I think he's still coaching somewhere.
All right. Yeah, he was a really good player for a while.
Very good player. Race 7. 5.5 furlongs, Texas breds, 3 and up. These are state bred maiden claimers. Take out the 6. Connor talks trash.
Yeah, I mean, I pick a Lee's Lock every day, and, typically Sippin' Scotch wouldn't have fit the bill, but I thought the races were so competitive. When I went back through it, I thought, oh, man, who's my most logical winner today? And I went with Sippin' Scotch. So it's not my most confident, most likely winner.
It takes some nerve at this level.
Yeah, it really
does. To go with your lock on a 7,500 maiden.
But, since I was a young man, and that's all I ever read. The biggest drop in horse racing is maiden special weights to the bottom of the maiden claiming ranks. I mean, This is a big drop in class for a horse that already had the strongest buyer figures. He's got a top Texas trainer in Danny Pish, a high percentage rider. There's an awful lot to like. He's not real consistent. Some races he comes from out of it. Next race he'll be on the lead. He's a little bit inconsistent that way. 5 1/2 furlongs is good if the Sippin' Scotch horse that breaks alertly is in the field today. He does show a couple nice breezes for Pish. I think the horse is doing really well right now. Maybe just dropping to win a race here.
Yeah, I mean, Pish dropped a horse last night, Brooklyn Alley Cat, that off the form I didn't really quite understand why he was tumbling him down. Well, it turned out Brooklyn Alley Cat did not run a good race at all. Hopefully it'll be differently with Sippin' Scotch. I took Red 47. Normally I don't like horses that have previously hit bottom and not broken their maidens. Figure they've already had maybe their best shot to benefit from the drop. But I'm going to go with Red 47, drawn inside. Jalen Clary is a good trainer. She's due for a win this meet.
Yep.
I think either of Red 47's last 2 races, albeit, at bottom levels, would possibly win this race. Now, if Sippin' Scotch runs his best race, I think he's your winner. But I'm going to try the lone 3-year-old in here, Red 47, hoping he continues what was a nice improvement from 2 starts ago to a race here opening weekend. Yeah. I don't have a lot of confidence.
Yeah, and the 3 Fly Redbird Fly, I mean, that's a nice rider change. David Cabrera's having a heck of a season, and this is another horse dropping out of maiden special weights into a bottom-level maiden claimer. I could easily see this 5-year-old waking up.
Yep, for sure. And I threw 6-iron. Mindy Willis, not really known for first-time starters, but in a field like this, 6-iron the 2, I put him in there for 3rd. I mean, he's a 4-year-old debuting here. Mindy has a way of hitting the board in these. She hit the board last night with a firster in a bottom-level maiden race that, they come out running and they have a chance to at least hit the board.
Yeah, and Stuart Elliott's always been her kind of go-to guy.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
That's a positive sign.
And Elliott, I think, rode the firster last night that ran 3rd. Race 8, fillies and mares 3 and up. This is a first-level allowance. 6.5 furlongs on dirt. Scratch number 8 in spite of it.
Yeah, this race is competitive. I try to let track class when I can, kind of guide me one direction. The 9, just a co-ed. You look at a second-place finish when he was, running maiden specials at Churchill Downs. Went to Keeneland, a very competitive 4th. In New Orleans this year, beating only 4 lengths in a special weight there. Then went to Houston, a dead heat maiden special weight, win. His buyer figures are definitely slowly and steadily improving, which is what you kind of expect with a 4-year-old filly. Cabrera gets the return call on this horse. I like being outside. You avoid all kinds of, potential traffic issues on the outside there. And won't go to the lead, but should get that ideal stalking trip from out there. So I'm going to take just a co-ed, hopefully to repeat for Calhoun, who's winning at a 50% clip, which is a little bit higher than my win percentage as a handicapper.
Yeah,
so
quite a bit higher than mine, for sure. I went and watched that just a co-ed race because it's an interesting line. You dead heat, you're 4 1/4 lengths clear of the 3rd place finisher. Jesta Coed looked beaten about 50 yards to the finish, maybe 30 yards. Actually came back on again and got a favorable bob to dead heat with a stablemate, a Calhoun stablemate, and Moon Mist. You make a great case. I mean, she's been very consistent. I like the fact she's 4 years old. The connections can't be beaten. But that being said, I'm going to try the 5 Ghostly Night. She's been second 4 times in a row, favored in a couple of those. She's been campaigning at Houston, but she does have a background at the bigger tracks. She was actually a pretty good claim by Gustafson. Claimed her out of a win at, did I refer to these as maidens at one point? Just a co-ed was consistent against maidens and then broke her maiden last time out. Ghostly Night was claimed away from 10 Strike Racing and has run 4 straight seconds for Austin Gustafson. But I think they were pretty good efforts. 2 were on slop. She loves a dry track. I'm going to give her a shot. It's one of those where I think she might tactically get a nice little trip right off the speed. I kind of fear Capalucci's horse, Lucky Vegas, in here. Loves to win races. It's 1-2 in a row. He claimed her a couple races back. Jumped her up a tiny bit. Won again at Sunland. She loves to be there at the end. So Lucky Vegas actually moved ahead of your filly. I had your filly 4th. That's kind of a diss for me. She shouldn't be down there that far.
And I made, pun intended, a pretty short price, so I didn't pick her in my top 4. Because what do you do? I could see part of the public loving her. I mean, her races as a 2-year-old were very fast. And then she had a long vacation. She's 1-9 odds at Houston in March, but going 2 turns and just set the pace and totally gave way. Now back sprinting. I definitely could see people liking this one's chances. I just personally, I thought it was a long layoff and a somewhat disappointing return. That's why I didn't pick her in my top 5. But if she wins, no way am I going to be surprised whatsoever.
I used her 3rd. I have this theory that blew up in my face last week that if they show a really, really slow, abnormally slow work leading right up to the race, I've seen horses not fare well when they've come back from that. Last week, it was a Diodoro horse that blew everybody's drawers off, and I picked against him because of that angle, which that's really not an angle, but that horse had a 42nd. I know Steve may not have asked a lot for her a week out from a race, but, yeah, I threw her in there for 3rd kind of for insurance.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
But, okay, final race, 9th. Maiden special weights, turf, 7.5 furlongs, scratch the 1. Excuse me, Enigma code, and scratch 11, 12, 13, 14. I don't really care for the short prices in here, so I'm going to try. I'm going to try a long shot, and I see you're going that way too.
Yeah, I took the angle you took earlier today. A first-time turfer. He's a striker is my choice here. I really like the pedigree. This horse, 2 turns, March 22nd, in a maiden 50 at Houston, ran a terrific race, was run down late. That was a terrific race. Has route speed, first-time turf, like I said. Golden Sense is above average turf sire, especially at route distances. The average is 11%. He's 13%. The Dam Strike Accord made $241,000 on grass.
Wow.
So definitely turf pedigree. Of course, Stuart Elliott, you're not going to get a better rider than him here, at any distance. But I like experienced quality riders, and a routed ground a little bit better. I think, rider class makes more of a difference in routes than sprints. And so I think he's a striker in a race that I think is real competitive. I just wanted to take a price. If he takes to the turf, he's going to be right there with the others.
A couple of the horses that are short on the line, and I need to look up what they've called this horse before. I assume the 3 is Kentucky, kind of a play on Kentucky and Cantharos. That horse had a lot of chances. Takes blinkers off, which is an angle that you like. It's had a lot of chances and just seems to run the same race every time. U-Time, another one. Just on pure numbers, could factor. Don't know much about the trainer, and is coming off the bench. So those are the 2 shortest prices on the line. So I looked for a long shot, too. And, I like that first turf angle because, let's face it, sometimes they do fare well, and you can get good prices. Last week, Creative Minister was bet down a bit, first time on turf. He was an old class horse. He loved the turf, So I'm going to go with the 8. A long time. This horse did debut on the turf March 30th at Houston. Deshaun Parker riding, so drew a really live rider, one of the best riders there. 11-1, just kind of went evenly, but had a real problem negotiating that turn. Lugged out on the turn pretty bad. Basically took him out of the race. He was right up in the race until then. Hopefully, in the time since, Ray Ashford's been able to work with this horse. He puts Vasquez on the horse today. Again, kind of a lateral move from Deshaun Parker. That 36 Beyer is not spectacular, to say the least, but I think could be a chance for big improvement. Stretches out. maybe a sprint's not his deal. He's a 3-year-old, like your pick. So I'm going to try the 8 a long time. Hope for a little bit of a price. Roaring Rapids is interesting to me as well.
He is, yep.
You know, they kept him on the dirt and an off-the-turf race last time, but his turf form's pretty good. And Absolutely Certain, a Highlander horse, coming back off a really long layoff. I think, you know, he is a first-time gelding, by the way, and so is a long time. Who knows?
Yeah,
I mean, Absolutely Certain started his career in Kentucky and, you know, was pretty much blasted there, but, you know, that layoff might have helped him. Who knows?
Yeah, the other Highlander that I picked earlier, I mean, you notice the same thing, just 2 works. They get them fit, they bring them in here, get them eligible, and enter. He's an interesting horse. We'll just see.
These
he
works
hasn't
are sharp
run in a while, but his horses worked really fast, so he might be sitting on a really top effort.
Yeah, be worth a look. I mean, that's a great race. All right, that's it. We're a little behind on time, thanks to me once again, but nonetheless, beautiful day. We'll do it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm picking some long shots tomorrow, too, I think. But nonetheless, hopefully it'll be a fun day of racing, and we'll do it all again tomorrow.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Thanks a lot for looking in. We're 28 minutes to post for race 1. Good luck.
In the event of an emergency, Lone Star Park is dedicated to ensuring the safety of our patrons. This video illustrates the